Yeah. Or, what's it called? What do I want to call it? It's, inflation content, you could call it, actually. Inflation content. Okay, I'm streaming now. Okay, guys, brand new news. What? What is so bad? Can you stop screaming for once? Saying good news, guys. Today they have released part 1. I want to say part 1.3.7. You know, I make up random numbers. I kind of don't. I'm not surprised at this. But now we have candles, and even better, we can place. Yeah. Not really. I want to kind of quote unquote say like a quote unquote 1.17. 1.17.15, or actually technically it's 1.17.11. Part 2 will be known as 1.17.2. Mojang has finally released candles, and now azaleas can be put in pots. Along with 80 plus bugs have been worked out with the game. So yeah, we have all these candles. Now all these candles, I'm gonna place them in my house. Actually, I want to see what I can do with them. Now all candles, and if you're asking, no, they're not going to like release a different color light. Okay. So yeah, candles can be lit by flint and steel, and they can be put out by hitting L2 or like, okay, so we're gonna say, let's say when you open a door, that's like trigger. So you can, you hit use on flint and steel to light them, and you do the same with your hand to put them out. I didn't notice, but apparently right now, the flame will kind of slowly die out. The more, like, they work like sea pickles, so they probably use the same sprites as sea candles, or sea pickles. So yeah, you light them, and like, the more there are, the brighter the color. No, they will not release colored light. For example, if it's orange, it's not going to release orange light. They are crafted with, I want to, what's it called? I want to see if I can craft them for myself, so I think you need honeycomb and string, right? You need honeycomb and string to craft a candle with, I want to, so, what? Well, look at that. Look at that, I guessed it right. So you need one honeycomb and one string on top. And you'll get, what? I'm okay. One candle. So it's a 2-to-1 recipe ratio. However, you can, I want to say what? You can, okay, so you have to take, I'm going to say you have to take the candle, craft it first. And then, yup, there you go, you get a dye. You have to craft the candle first, and then you dye it later. That's how the game works. Now, I doubt this is going to work. I'm not expecting this to work at all. But can I dip? No, you can't. So once a candle is dyed, it's never, ever, ever going to change color. I have no idea how long candles last. I feel like they last, like, for, like, I don't know, a certain amount of time. So if anyone in the comments knows the time that it takes, or quote unquote, if it like has a use time, please comment down below and tell me, because I don't want to spit out false facts and bullcrap. And anyway, with that out of the way, let's continue. Oh, I've been taking a break from streaming, and plus, I'm not gonna use it as a 100% excuse for not streaming, guys. But the other day, I know you could meme it. I stubbed my toe, and it hurt really bad. I possibly broke my pinky last night. Here it is. It's there. See that? See that toe? It's screwed over. I destroyed that toe about 24 or I want to say 30. I screwed that thing over like at least 48-ish hours ago. I screwed it over like last night. Or like, what's it called? No, it was... What day is it? Is it Tuesday or... I think I screwed it over like, Monday night. And plus, another reason why I didn't stream last night is that I don't know why I'm talking like that. The reason is because at 10, I went back to school to help my teacher out with her gaming room. And 2, I had to go to the dentist, like, really soon after. I didn't have any time. But, man, last night, I was busy, but I got to celebrate with a nice meal of Culver's, which made me feel a lot better. So, I'm doing okay. I might have to... I don't know what I can do about broken toe. It's probably... I might live like this for the rest of my life, and if I do, I'm just gonna be a little bit upset. I really hope I did not break my toe, but when I push it, when I touch it, like a little bit, like forcibly, it hurts, and I know that that's a sign of a broken limb because I broke my foot, and I touched my foot, and it wouldn't stop hurting, and then I went to the doctor, and he x-rayed it, and it was broken, and I probably just broke my toe. I can walk, I can't run, I can kind of put socks on a little bit. So yeah, I possibly just got injured. The only way for me to go faster than walking is using crutches, which I'm getting better. Last night I could not walk entirely. Then I could walk using crutches, and now today I don't need crutches to walk anymore. And I'm picking up speed. However, I bend my foot. Yep, it's swelling. It's not purple anymore, it's red. It doesn't look good at all. It looks really bad. If any one of you have any way to alleviate pain from a bad foot, I would love to know. I wanted to say a little bit about Just Cause 4. I played a little bit this morning, and I kind of been changing what I thought. I'm not saying it's like the best game, but what I think about Just Cause 4 is that like it's like let's start comparing. Graphically, the skies are a lot like I think like the environment, like what's it called? The grass and the water in Just Cause 3 is awesome. It makes you almost want to go into the game and drink it. Disregarding, like, dysentery. It makes you just want to drink the water. It's so beautiful, Mediterranean blue. And the skies are beautiful, beautiful blue. Or beautiful dark blue at night. It's just pretty. However, I think in Just Cause 4, the gunplay is actually a little bit better. It is satisfying, a little bit more satisfying to get a headshot in that game than it is in Just Cause 4 or 3. The snipers are definitely sounding a lot better with the Super Sniper 4. That's my favorite. The guns in that game are better. Hey, we may not have the Bavarian nuke launcher, but we've traded in with a PBA... the RG PBA 9 railgun. that can one-shot any civilian vehicle and two-shot any military vehicle, which in my opinion is really fun. Clank, 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 beep, beep, BAM! Because if you don't know, one of my favorite guns in real life, one of my favorite guns, well, not really, but one of my favorite guns in general are railguns. They are cool. Railguns are some of the coolest thing I've ever seen ever. You just, charge up your gun and charge up your gun and one shot you're done. That's my rule. That's my new rule. Railguns. Charge up your gun and one shot you're done. Yeah. My I don't want it smooth. I want to kind of make it a little bit old on top. Man, it felt so crappy to get that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say. Mojang has now launched the experimental features for part 2, like I think the Warden and the Deep Slate Caves. However, due to its experimental status, I will not be triggering it on Apteria at all. And as dumb as it is, I don't like triggering experimental status on any of my survival worlds. So, for those people that like building like 1800s churches or Fallout 4 builds with candles, yeah, go wild. Community, right now, I'm asking you to just go wild with candles. I want to see what you make with candles. I believe with just candles and a few other blocks, you can make a really good thing. Like, for example, in Just Cause 3, that you can you have like these shrines, and you go up to them and you light a candle, and you have like a bunch of candles. Like, I think candles will be good for churches and shrines and old builds. Wait, I have an idea. Wait, hold on. Can you put torches on fence? No, you can't make like a candelier on the wall. If that's what they're called. You know what, actually? Candles, do they even last? Okay, so it's limited. So at 1, it has a light level of 3. When it's 2, it's 6. When it's 3, it's 9. And when it's 4, it's 12. No way! Yo, official. Can you do that? You can put candles on cake. That is so cool. So for those people in Minecraft that are having a birthday party, this is really good to notice. They can be mined with your hand. Candles become waterlogged. If they're waterlogged, they cannot be clicked. Candles can be extinguished with water or water bottles. Let's test that. Can the candle be extinguished with a water bottle, as said by the Wikipedia? That's probably Java. No, it ain't. It's Java. The concept of burnt torches from the Halloween update. The Halloween update was very revolutionary, adding the very first instances of the Nether. Yeah, so the Nether was first added on the Halloween update of 2012, I think? Or either that or it's 2011. Yup, it's 2012. Halloween update. Explore new scary realm with Nether. Fight scary new monsters. Experience scarier depths. Be scared of the dark. Catch scary fish. Scare other players online. Carve skin. So cool. Wow, the Nether is almost 12 years or almost 10 years old. Wow, that's interesting. The insane scale of just Jeff Bezos. Okay, Jeff Bezos is worth $196 billion. For example, let's say what a bucket excavator costs $50 million ish, like on average. So a billion can cost like 120. So like let's see, 100 times 20 or 200 times 20 minus 8. So 200 times 20 is about 200 or 100 times. Let's do 100 times 20, which would be 2,000, if I'm correct. So roughly about 3,900. He could buy 3,900 bucket wheel excavators. That's a lot of bucket wheel excavators. Like just 5 is a lot.
The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Jeff Bezos is a man with a lot of money. At the absolute pinnacle of his drug empire, Pablo Escobar was worth an estimated $59 billion in today's money. In September of 2020, Jeff Bezos' net worth exceeded $204.6 billion. More than 3 times the amount of wealth that Pablo Escobar ever held. Understanding just how enormous of a fortune $204.6 billion actually is quite difficult for the human mind. So in this video, I'll be doing my best to put that insane level of wealth into perspective for you. Let's begin with this map. Haiti, Madagascar, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Republic of the Congo, Burundi, Uganda, the Central African Republic, Cameroon, Djibouti, Sudan, Chad, Niger, Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, the Gambia, Syria, Afghanistan, and Ukraine. Nearly 270 million adults, representing 3.5% of the human population, versus Jeff Bezos, a single man who has more wealth than every single person living in all of these countries have combined.
Wow.
Bezos' wealth is so astronomical. Imagine for a moment that you were immortal and you got a job that paid you $8,000 every single hour that you were alive. If you first got this job at the time of the birth of Christ and were continuously making $8,000 an hour every single hour that has ever happened since then, across more than 2,000 years of history, you'd still not have anywhere near close to enough wealth as Jeff Bezos has. On July 20th earlier this year in 2020, Jeff Bezos' wealth increased by over $13 billion. In a single day, Jeff Bezos' wealth increased by more than the entire annual GDP of Madagascar, a country of over 26 million people. To put his overall wealth into even more perspective, Bezos' total fortune of over $204.6 billion is more than the entire annual GDP of Indonesia, the world's 16th largest economy, and home to over 267 million people. It is also more than double the combined net worth of the entire British royal family, which is presently valued at around $80 billion. But enough with comparing Jeff Bezos' fortune with countries and monarchs. Let's compare his wealth to something a bit more easy for all of us to understand. The base price of a 2019 Toyota Corolla is $18,700. Jeff Bezos' fortune, if converted into pure cash, would be enough to purchase 10,941,176 of these 2019 Toyota Corollas. If Toyota concentrated 100% of its factories and production into only producing Corollas and nothing else, it would still take the entire company over an entire year to produce that many for him. Let's think of his wealth in another sense. The average American worker earns a salary of $49,764 per year. In order for the average American worker to save up enough wealth to match Jeff Bezos, they would have to work for 4,111,000.
Oh my God.
5 years. Put into another perspective, Jeff Bezos has added every minute and $2,489 every single second. Now, start a timer from September 1st, 2019 to September 1st, 2020. In just the first 9 minutes of this year, Jeff Bezos gained more wealth than the average college-educated American woman will in her entire lifetime. And in only 15 minutes, more than the average college-educated American man will in his lifetime as well. 27 minutes into the year, and Bezos has already gained more wealth than the average American lawyer will in their entire lifetime. 45 minutes into the year, and he's already gained more than the average American doctor will in their entire lifetime. Just 5.5 hours into the year, and he's already gained more wealth than the entire net worth of David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Within the first 8 working hours of the year, he's already gained more wealth than the entire annual GDP of Tuvalu. By the end of day 2, his wealth has already increased more than the entire net worth of Beyonce. By the end of day 3, his wealth has increased more than the entire net worth of Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. By the end of the first week, he personally gained more wealth than the entire annual profits of Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Wing Street all combined.
Wow.
First month, he personally again has gained more wealth than the entire annual revenue of GameStop, a corporation with 56,000 employees. 2 months in, and he has acquired more wealth than the entire annual GDP of Zimbabwe, a country with over 16 million people. And finally, by the end of the year, he had acquired $70 billion, an amount of wealth that's largely equal to the entire annual GDP of Venezuela during the same year, a country with over 28 million people that controls the largest amount of proven oil reserves anywhere in the entire world. And all of this isn't even close to being halfway there to all of Jeff Bezos' fortune of $204.6 billion. Even Thursday. The other players died, but we beat their game. Zoe, it's over. Even compared to other historical figures from American history, Jeff Bezos is still extraordinarily wealthy. Adjusted for inflation today, Jeff Bezos is even wealthier today than Henry Ford was at the time of his death, and is roughly equivalent in wealth to Cornelius Vanderbilt during the Gilded Age in the 19th century. The wealthiest man to have ever lived in modern history was John D. Rockefeller, who at the time of his death in 1937 was worth an estimated $418 billion adjusted for inflation today, nearly double the wealth of Jeff Bezos. Rockefeller was so enormously wealthy that his net worth was equivalent to 3% of the entire United States GDP.
Rockefeller.
However, Rockefeller died with that net worth at the age of 97. Jeff Bezos...
Wow, Rockefeller died at 97? That is a very good age to die when he was alive. You die at like 60 or 50 at that age. Maybe not 50. Rockefeller is very important in American history. He's responsible for creating the oil market that we see today. I'm pretty sure he's one of the very first, I don't know, his oil tycoon was stupid big.
Very reasonable to assume that the world's wealthiest man with access to the best healthcare imaginable will survive to 84 years old. And by that time, it's probable that Bezos will have accumulated an entire $1 trillion in wealth for himself. $204.6 billion is an incredibly difficult amount to visualize. But what's even more incredible is how rapidly Jeff Bezos has acquired that much. He was born to a 17-year-old mother still in high school, and his father simply owned a bicycle shop. He worked at McDonald's in high school, and he founded Amazon in 1990.
Take that, people that think working at McDonald's is bad. Jeff Bezos, the richest man right now, and like the richest man alive right now, was working at McDonald's his first job. Lol. Look at him now. I'm not saying... I'm not saying it's easy.
So if you've made it this far into the video and you're wanting to learn the skills it takes to be better at anything, I'd recommend that you go and check out Skillshare next. They've got a ton of classes pretty much anything you'd like to get better at. Want to finally take the jump and become a full-time freelancer? I'd recommend the class Going Freelance, Building and Branding Your Own Success by Justin Gignac. Want to get better at studying for exams? My friend Ali Abdal will teach you how in his evidence-based masterclass on studying. When you become a member of Skillshare, you can take these classes as well as thousands of others on nearly any subject you can imagine, from animation to web development. It's the absolute perfect activity for whenever you're stuck at home, have a lot of free time, or if you'd like to sharpen up your school or work skills. Best of all though, you can get a completely free trial of Skillshare Premium by being one of the first 1,000 people who use the link down in my description.
Only 1 gram of this material is worth $25 billion. What is it? Dark matter?
Reliable high-speed home internet. Stream, learn.
This real-life lore video is made possible by Skillshare, home to over 15,000 classes that can teach you a new life skill. The first 500 people to sign up using the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial. So commonly when we think of the most valuable material in the world, our minds tend to center onto gold. And while gold is very expensive,
It's like $70 to $80 a gram.
per gram, there are other materials that are significant.
Are you serious, dude? No, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying to you, but back then, 2017, gold was $56 per gram. Now it's $80 per gram. It's rising. Wow. So within the span of like 4 years, it's gone up like almost 40%.
For example, are the most expensive drugs in the world by sheer weight. Far more valuable than gold is. The market value for diamonds per gram is even more prohibitively expensive. But even this is nothing compared to the most valuable material currently known to humanity, antimatter. So, what even is antimatter? To put it simply, antimatter is the opposite of regular matter. Down at the atomic level, antimatter is made up of particles and atoms just like regular matter is. The only difference is that they have an opposite electric charge. Protons in antimatter are negative and called antiprotons, while electrons are positive and called positrons. Whenever antimatter and matter touch one another, they instantly annihilate each other in a 100% efficient release of energy. This pure energy release is why antimatter could prove to be extremely useful. The most efficient nuclear weapons, for example, convert a mere 7 to 10% of their mass into energy, while antimatter to matter collisions release 100% of their mass into energy. If you somehow were carrying 1 gram of antimatter about the size of a raisin and dropped it on the ground, it would create an explosion greater than both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear explosions combined, easily enough to destroy an entire city. Smaller scale assassination weapons may be more economically feasible, however, like the theorized antimatter bullet, which would essentially be a regular bullet but with a tiny 1/1000th of a gram of positrons attached to the tip. Upon impact, the bullet fired from a rifle would be capable of destroying an entire house, tank, or any other similar sized object.
Oh my god.
It has several other uses beyond just military ones. Antiprotons have also been shown in several studies to have the potential to treat certain kinds of cancers.
Really?
Antimatter could also be used as a fuel source for interstellar travel. It is conceivable that using antimatter as a fuel source could propel a rocket with humans on board to about 50% of the speed of light, which is fast enough to reach the nearest star to Earth in just a little over 2 years. So why haven't we created enough antimatter yet to do any of these incredible things? The answer is because antimatter is incredibly rare, difficult to produce, and prohibitively expensive currently. It appears the entire observable universe is made out of regular matter, and while it is possible that there could be entire galaxies made out of antimatter, we have so far not been able to detect any. Antimatter is produced naturally in Earth's outer atmosphere when high-energy cosmic rays impact it, but the amount produced is tiny and lasts only briefly before it comes into contact with regular matter and annihilates itself. The only practical means of acquiring antimatter so far have been to produce it artificially ourselves. But even this method is incredibly difficult and expensive. The Large Hadron Collider, operated by CERN in Switzerland, for example, one of the most expensive and complicated facilities ever built, is capable of producing 10 million antiprotons per minute when fully operational. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually a laughably tiny amount. To produce just a single gram of antimatter at that
take CERN roughly 100 billion years to complete. Production is only the first problem, though. Storing it is perhaps an even larger problem. Since antimatter annihilates matter instantly, you can't just store it in a regular container. You have to suspend the material without it coming into contact with anything. And so far, CERN has only succeeded in storing antimatter atoms for a record 17 minutes before they became annihilated. Since just 1 gram is enough to obliterate an entire city, safety precautions in storing the material and keeping it in safe hands would be of the utmost importance. And we're not even sure how exactly we would store such a large amount in the first place. Estimates on how much antimatter costs to produce varies greatly. In an article written by NASA Goddard in 2006, a figure of $25 billion per gram is cited, while in another NASA paper written back in 1999, a figure of $62.5 trillion per gram is cited, which is about 83% of the entire global GDP just to produce 1 single gram. For reference, the Manhattan Project, which developed the first atomic bomb, cost $23 billion adjusted for inflation. And just like creating the atomic bomb did, creating antimatter in large quantities, if ever that's possible, would open up a new Pandora's box that we couldn't close once we open it. We would have to live with the consequences of life in a world with abundant antimatter, both positive ones and negative ones. In the meantime, though, if you want to watch something positive and learn something new right...
What's this, Trillian?
Introducing the newest hero in STEM education. All new RE Max, your own personal coding robot and artist. Learn the basics of coding and use RE Max to draw your coded creations.
That's really interesting.
It's masterpiece after masterpiece, created and coded by you. Spark creativity.
It's actually a really smart way to make kids learn how to code.
Make sure to check out their video
Wow.
after this one and their website for 2 months of premium access for just 99 cents. The wealthiest person in the world has a new face. His name is Jeff Bezos. With a current net worth of $123.6 billion that is increasing all the time, he's on track to becoming the wealthiest person in modern human history. His title of wealthiest person in the world, though, may be broken sometime in the future by an industry that hasn't even really started yet, and by whoever gets heavily involved in this industry first. The industry that I'm talking about is asteroid mining, which has been talked about extensively by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson in video clips like this one.
The first trillionaire will ever be is the person who mines asteroids for their natural resources. Just saying.
To get a little more detail about why this will be the case, we need to understand why certain asteroids are valuable. Take the asteroid belt for
Platinum, rubidium,
Jupiter. There are
uranium, gold,
together estimated to be
silver.
$700 quintillion. That's because several asteroids here contain enormous amounts of raw materials that are very rare back on Earth's surface, like gold, silver, palladium, and perhaps most interestingly, platinum. A company
Told ya, platinum.
estimated in 2012 that the platinum mined from a small 30-meter wide asteroid could be worth somewhere between $25 and $50 billion at the current market value. Just one platinum-rich asteroid could contain more platinum than humanity has ever mined in history, which, if introduced all at once, would almost certainly crash the economic value of platinum. This would, however, greatly reduce the cost of nearly all electronic devices that we use. About 1 in 4 manufactured products on Earth use platinum group metals that are very expensive now, but wouldn't necessarily be any more in this scenario. But it's not just platinum that future space miners will be after. A large asteroid with a diameter of 1 kilometer could contain 2 to 3 times the global production of iron nickel.
Oh my god.
A very large asteroid, 16 Psyche, could satisfy the entire global demand for nickel iron for several million years. Asteroids like these have the potential to give humanity a near infinite supply of these incredibly valuable raw materials, and the corporations that are providing these infinite supplies will reap the tremendous financial returns. If you start one of these corporations, you may not even have to go as far out as the asteroid belt to find one that's valuable enough. Nearly 15,000 near-Earth asteroids, or NEAs, have been discovered with close orbits to Earth so far. Of these, the most valuable one identified so far is likely 162173 Ryugu, nearly 1 kilometer wide and estimated to be worth nearly $83 billion. This one asteroid is worth about the same as the entire Starbucks corporation is, and the Japanese on December 29th, 2020, and then again on June 3rd, 2025. Any company started by between now and then that manages to get a mining operation set up on it could see profits of tens of billions of dollars. And if successful, it could be a stepping stone out to the far more valuable asteroids out in the asteroid belt, where there have already been 711 asteroids discovered, estimated to be worth over $100 trillion each, making each one equal to about the entire global GDP in 2014. The problem is, we're nowhere near capable of doing anything like this right now. Getting anything into space is expensive. This is being improved all the time, but even using the cheapest means right now aboard the new SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket still costs $90 million per launch, or $1,411 per kilogram of cargo out to low Earth orbit. This is dramatically cheaper than the cheapest option 20 years ago, though, which was by launching the Zenit 2 rocket, for a price of $3,275 per kilogram of cargo into LEO, more than twice as expensive as the Falcon Heavy is today. Assuming that the price of getting things into space continues to decrease like this in the future, there's still the problem of how to actually mine metals on asteroids and bring them back to Earth in an efficient manner. One idea is to simply capture an asteroid with a space vehicle and tow it into a safe orbit above Earth. Once there, mining crews of humans and robots would take launches up and establish mining settlements looking for valuable material, and returning ships to Earth would bring those materials back down to be processed in factories and put into manufactured products. The idea of having a 1 kilometer wide asteroid orbiting so close to the Earth would be unnerving for a lot of people, but it's entirely legal for any U.S. citizen to do this right now if they could. The U.S. Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, signed into law in 2015, recognizes the right of U.S. citizens to own space resources they obtain and encourages the commercial exploration and utilization of resources from asteroids. Interestingly, the law enables the ownership of resources taken from asteroids, but not the ownership of any actual asteroid as property. That means that if a corporation did tow an asteroid into orbit around Earth and set up a mining operation there wouldn't be any laws to prevent anybody else from flying up there and setting up their own mining operation too. This could become a messy situation that our descendants will probably have to deal with. As resources on Earth become increasingly scarce, though, we'll inevitably one day start to take the almost limitless resources that can be found in asteroids and elsewhere in space more seriously. We can end the very concept of scarcity for some of these resources, and the first person alive today that takes advantage of it will become our society's first trillionaire. It could even be one of you watching this video. If you're interested in learning more about corporations, finance, or even starting...
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here with a deal from Mint Mobile to tell you about that. It's so freaking huge, I asked Epic Voice Guy to translate it into summer blockbuster. You ready, John? Ready. In a world where big wireless companies
Thank God.
This video is made possible by Brilliant. Start learning intuitively with Brilliant for 20% off by being one of the first 200 people to sign up at brilliant.org/real-life-lore. So you probably know that stars are pretty far away, but you may have also been dreaming about visiting one ever since you were a kid. Science fiction has taught us that traveling to a distant star system may not be too far off in the distant future, but science fiction rarely gets into some of the largest problems that surround this concept. I've made one video before discussing the possibility of humanity reaching another star in your lifetime, and to summarize that one, the best you can hope for is maybe a tiny probe reaching the Proxima Centauri system sometime in a few decades that might be capable of taking some pictures of the planets there. But as for you actually going yourself and visiting a planet that orbits a distant star, unless you can figure out how to become there, you likely never will, and here are some of the biggest reasons why. The distances are obviously huge, and traveling across those distances will take a lot of time. The fastest speed that humanity has ever achieved with a man-made object was using Helios 2 probe, which got up to 240,000 kilometers per hour. That's fast enough to circle around the entire Earth in just about 10 minutes. But going at that speed would still take about 19,000 years just to reach Proxima Centauri, the nearest other star to the Sun. But let's speculate for a moment, though, that perhaps this is the fastest speed that we ever could reach using a spaceship with actual humans on board. We build a
ship with about a 100-person crew that repopulates itself over generations until it gets to Proxima Centauri. This concept is known as a generation ship, and the people on board would live out their entire lives without ever leaving the small space of the ship. Before arriving at its destination, over 600 generations of people would live out this bizarre existence before finally arriving 19,000 years later at their destination and goal, the first humans to ever colonize another star system. The only problem is, though, discover that humans are already there, but have been there already for thousands of years, and have completely colonized the new planet with millions. The people of 2018 assumed that the speed of 240,000 kilometers per hour was the fastest speed we could achieve on a ship, and so they sent out their colonists under that assumption. However, after 1,000 years into their journey, they were still 18,000 years more away from getting to their planet. Back on Earth, though, 1,000 years of technological development was enough time to discover much faster forms of space travel, and the people of the year 3018 were capable of sending out colonists on a ship that could reach the planet in just 5,000 years. So their ship ended up passing the one launched in 2018, thousands of years before it, and had enough time to completely develop civilization there before the 2018 ship arrived, and discovered their entire 19,000-year ordeal and suffering was all for nothing. Who knows what psychological or philosophical problems such an experience could create for those people, but this entire problem is known as the weight calculation. When is the optimal time for humanity to send colonists out to another star? The concept was first written about by Andrew Kennedy in a paper written in 2006. Kennedy assumed that there had to be a minimum travel time to any place in the universe, and that meant once our technology was close to achieving it, we could safely send colonists out and avoid the risk of leaving too early for nothing. But deciding when the best time to leave is pretty complicated, and think about the implications that poses to any would-be space traveler. Would you voluntarily sign up to be locked in a spaceship for the rest of your life, along with your children's lives and their children's and their children's and so on hundreds of times over, when the only payoff would be being told that one day humanity would colonize another star thanks to your sacrifice? But then you remember the weight calculation and realize that that only payoff is actually a huge gamble, and your sacrifice may be worthless in the long run. You'd be insane to take that risk, and everybody else would feel the same way, so convincing anybody to get on a generation ship like this at almost any time in the future would be almost impossible unless you force them to. Would-be colonists could always assume that people in the future would just create a faster form of transportation that would completely negate their own journeys. That is until we discover a way to travel at or near light speed. It appears that the speed of light is the universe's highest speed limit, and so naturally, if humanity ever discovered a way to travel near it, potential colonists could rest assured that their sacrifices and travel would never be in vain, like the explorers aboard the ABC Jungle Fruit, a cruiser searching for resources beyond Earth in a class on Einstein's special relativity over at brilliant.org. This course, like all other brilliant courses, makes learning about complex topics simple by breaking
Archery sucks thousands of tons of CO2 out of the air every day. Let me show you how.
I wish I could do that on my school laptop, because I search up so much facts and information on my school, but no, because they just don't let me.
You usually think of an endless place with unbelievable distances between stars. Though the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of human activity in space so far has taken place in a narrow slice just 2,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Known as low Earth orbit, or LEO for short, this area contains the International Space Station and over 2,000 government and commercial satellites that provide everything from television signals, GPS, weather forecasts, and much more. However, in addition to all of these incredible technological achievements, humanity has also created a very large problem that can not only completely
A debris field.
progress, but also prevent us from visiting space again for several
An
generations.
SDF.
In addition to space stations and satellites,
Satellite
LEO
debris
is also
field.
home to a tremendous amount of garbage and debris that we've been throwing out ever since we first started visiting space. Most of this junk consists of tiny objects like dust from solid rocket motors, flakes of heat eroded off vehicle surfaces, or leaked frozen
100 billion tiny pieces of junk less than 1 centimeter wide currently zipping around the Earth at speeds of 22,000 kilometers per hour or faster. If that doesn't sound like much, this image here is the aftermath of one of these flecks of paint that struck the front window of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1983. In addition to the small stuff in LEO, however, there are also an estimated 500,000 pieces of junk between 1 centimeter and 10 centimeters wide. All of this stuff mindlessly orbiting around the Earth will eventually result in collisions between them at extremely high velocities, which creates a large number of new fragments. These fragments will then go on to eventually collide with other objects, which creates even more fragments which will inevitably collide with even more objects, and so on until we enter the Kessler syndrome, a hypothetical future scenario first proposed by Donald J. Kessler back in 1978. Since it can take years, decades, or even centuries for space junk to enter into Earth's atmosphere and burn up on its own, when we lose something in space, it generally sticks around for a pretty long time. These random collisions between fragments in space could eventually result in so many tiny fragments traveling at insanely high speeds that low Earth orbit would effectively be like a constant shooting range. In the worst case scenario, all currently existing satellites in LEO would be destroyed into millions of tiny pieces. Launching any new mission into space from Earth's surface would be destroyed almost immediately by these pieces, rendering any space mission in the future a suicide mission. We would lose all the technology that satellites provide to us, and several generations would be robbed of the promise of space travel while we wait patiently for the garbage to get rid of itself naturally. So, is the Kessler syndrome inevitable? Back in 2009, a defunct Russian military satellite collided with an operational U.S. commercial satellite, which shattered both into thousands of different tiny fragments. This is the most significant unintentional collision that has so far happened, but an intentional collision in 2007 created even more fragments. In that year, the Chinese government tested an anti-satellite missile by using one to destroy one of their own satellites in LEO. This event produced over 2,000 golf ball-sized or larger fragments, as well as over 150,000 tiny debris particles. In 2011, some of the debris from this test passed a mere 6 kilometers away from the International Space Station. One of the most dangerous potential triggers of a Kessler syndrome in LEO is the now defunct Envisat satellite launched by the European Space Agency in 2002. Contact was lost with the satellite in 2012, and now the 8,000 kilogram piece of junk gets passed within 200 meters by 2 other catalog pieces of space junk every year. Since Envisat will likely remain in orbit around Earth for the next 150 years, and the rate of collisions is expected to increase, it could easily become a massive source of space junk sometime in our future. The Kessler syndrome is not inevitable, though, and can be avoided if we try to avoid it. We need to think of space the same way we should think of our oceans and land, a valuable resource that is in dire need of protection. The only way to remove garbage from space is to go up and remove it ourselves, or wait a very long time for it to go away naturally. Abandoning space is never an option. NASA already concluded in 2005 that even if no further launches of objects into space were made, collisions between already existing satellites would create fragments faster than atmospheric drag would remove fragments. The situation is an incredibly serious one, with humanity's future literally on the line. We have to explore ways to improve this situation in the future, and we must carry on in the present and hope for the best. If you want to one day work in space and help humanity avoid...
Going somewhere?
Does it look good?
Really?
This video is made possible by Walking Dead: No Man's Land, the official mobile game of AMC's The Walking Dead. Download and play the game for free using the link in the description below, and stay tuned for more info. Zombies are perhaps the most iconic monsters from film and media over the past several years. They're so prevalent, in fact, that even the Center for Disease Control maintains a page dedicated to giving advice on how to survive a hypothetical zombie apocalypse. As unlikely as this may be, the thought process of creating your own zombie survival strategy has always been interesting to me. So let's try and figure out where the safest place to be on Earth would be in the event that zombies leave the world.
Probably in islands in Italy.
Reality. First, a few assumptions. If a zombie outbreak were to happen, it would probably originate in a major city somewhere and begin infecting people in urban areas first.
My idea were here's my idea. You want to get off the mainland.
To swim very well.
I know I'm not gonna say like, what's it called? You know, when situations like this, you can't just, like, you know, pick them off. Well, you know, you gotta realize some like zombies are stronger than others. For example, like in some films, like for example, you know, some films have zombies that can take bullet after bullet. Like some zombies take one bullet to the head and they're done. Others can take cannon shots and still survive. There's different strengths. Let's assume that like they still have the strength of a human, where you know they can be shot a few times and killed. But if I have to be totally honest for what you should do, it's that but my biggest idea is to probably like hide out in an island. Let's say maybe like an island in Italy or Cuba or Dominican Republic, maybe somewhere down there, and maybe frequently go to the mainland. Like, let's say that these things can't swim. If they can't swim, then islands are definitely great. Then you could just take melee weapons or even guns and pick them off slowly on the mainland. I'm assuming that they cannot repopulate.
Begins in a major city, you would want to flee to an area more rural first. Any downtown area or place where a lot of people live should be avoided at all costs. Geography is going to be your best friend in this event, so where is the place
Even Italy's a good thing, and because Italy is surrounded by mountains, Italy is literally blocked off by mountains so bad. I think in the First World War, when they tried to attack people outside the mountains, they were literally pinned. So it keeps you in and it keeps zombies out. However, you'd have to kill all the zombies in Italy, which would be a problem.
Mountains or hills are obvious first choices, but the problem with those is that they're surrounded by land, and that means that if you're on the same continent where the outbreak originated in, it's only going to be a matter of time until the zombies arrive at your front door. If you live by the coast, a better and more obvious choice would be just taking a boat and sailing it out onto the ocean, but you would eventually have to stop back on land at some point for supplies, and that inevitably leaves you vulnerable to an attack. So how about just sailing your boat to a remote uninhabited island somewhere far away from any possible outbreak? There may be as many as 2 million uninhabited islands scattered across the world's oceans and lakes.
However,
There's plenty of options to choose from.
you gotta be very careful with islands, and that assuming that, let's say, if the factories still run, then that means that you need to be prepared for flooding, because you know global warming, you know, it can cause really bad flooding predicted here in the future. Like, for example, we predict that possibly the entire island of Florida, like Florida, could be gone by 2050. Could, not will, could. So you got, that's another thing to take in them.
Canada, which has a population of 0 and is about the same size as Croatia. The problem with an uninhabited island, however, is that there's no infrastructure currently.
Yeah, there's nothing.
You need to have shelter, food, and water, so you would need to either bring it all with you, be skilled enough to acquire it all, or be lucky enough to just stumble into some of it. One island, or sort of island, I guess, that in my opinion is the best place in the entire world to be at during a zombie apocalypse is right here, 1 kilometer off the coast of Normandy in France. Getting here might be difficult if you live outside of Europe, and if that's the case, well, good luck out there. But if you're in Europe, this is probably where you want to head to. It's called Mont Saint-Michel. You may have seen something similar to it in a Lord of the Rings movie, and it checks nearly every zombie-proof criteria that you could ever think of. First off, the island is home to an extremely fortified castle on top of a hill 92 meters above sea level.
Not
During
bad.
high tide, the ocean surrounds the island and castle walls. There is a bridge that was built in 2014 that connects the island to the mainland, but you could always just blow this up to ensure that the island remains untouchable by zombies during the high tide. During low tide, however, the beach around the castle becomes exposed and allows people or zombies to walk directly between the island and the mainland. At first glance, this seems to be like a weakness, but it actually allows for easy access to the surrounding land for supplies by the survivors inside. The surrounding meadows is considered a very rich area for grazing sheep, and even if you
don't feel like leaving the safety of the castle walls, there's a garden inside that can allow it to remain relatively self-sufficient. You would only really need to patrol the walls during low tide, but even then, the zombies would struggle to scale up the hills and the walls that surround the island on all sides. Whenever the tide comes back in, it would simply sweep away all the zombie attackers with them, which would allow you and the other survivors inside to live pretty secure and comfortable. The French defenders in Mont Saint-Michel managed to hold out for the entire duration of the 100 Years' War against England despite vastly inferior numbers, just because it's really hard to attack. An attacker only has a limited amount of time to attack each day before the tide comes in and forces them back or drowns them, and an attacking zombie army would probably be more stupid than a medieval English army. So there you go. I just don't see any way that you could fail at holding off a horde of zombie attackers in this castle. Geography is almost always the most powerful weapon that humans can use if used wisely. But if you'd like to actually experience a world where zombies are terrifyingly real, then you should check out Walking Dead No Man's Land next, the official mobile game of AMC's The Walking Dead. It's a turn-based action strategy game with its own unique storyline where you fight off hordes of walkers with all of your favorite heroes, including Daryl,
Coastline Paradox, what's this?
The 2K League definitely did a lot of work to make sure that this draft pool was very diverse.
I'm just heading off to my visa interview now. I'm totally excited. It's been a wait, but it's time to get my visa. My dog knows something is going on. I'm really excited for this whole
This video is made possible by Brilliant.org. The first 755 people to sign up with Brilliant will get 20% off their premium subscription. So here's the problem that this video is going to be talking about. How long is the coast of the United States? If you look at any map and see America, you might think that it's easy. Just measure the outline of the country and you have your answer. Several people and organizations have already tried this though, like the Congressional Research Institute that calculated it to be 12,383 miles, a second study from them that changed it to 29,093 miles, the CIA puts it at 19,924 miles, and a study from NOAA calculated the shoreline to be 95,471 miles. You may have noticed that all of these numbers are different, which is weird because they're all just measuring the same coastline. So what's going on? Well, let's move over to a smaller country like the United Kingdom and measure the coastline of Great Britain to get a clearer picture. Obviously, the coast of Britain isn't straight. Every time you look closer at a line that looks straight, you'll see more curves and bends. So how do you measure the length of the coast if every time you look more closely, it never actually becomes straight? You end up using the smallest measurement unit that's feasible. So if you were to measure the British coast using lengths of 100 kilometers, you'd end up using 28 of them and get an answer of 2,800 kilometers. But if you shortened your measuring units down to 50 kilometers, you'd end up using 68 of them and get an answer of 3,400 kilometers, which is 600 kilometers longer than your first measurement was. This is called the coastline paradox, and
The coastline paradox.
depends on what size of measurement they're using. First observed by a guy named Louis Fry Richardson back in 1951 as a way to explain how Portugal and Spain had come up with totally different answers to their mutual border length. The coastline paradox has been annoying cartographers ever since. Basically, the smaller the unit of measurement you use to measure a coastline, the longer your answer will become. You could theoretically go all the way down to the molecular level for your measurement unit, but if you do that, the length of the coast seems to approach infinity. It doesn't seem to make any sense that you could have a defined space with a finite area like Great Britain be surrounded by an infinitely long perimeter. But there's a similar concept that can be found in mathematics called fractals. A coach snowflake is probably the easiest way to visualize this concept. So imagine a triangle with equal sides of 1. Put another triangle on each side with equal lengths of 1/3. You can keep repeating this process forever, and if you zoom in on the snowflake, it essentially goes on forever. When you zoom back out to the original starting point, you're left with a shape that has a finite area, but an infinitely long perimeter. A lot of coastlines around the world have similar properties to this, so you can keep zooming in and zooming in on the coast of Britain, and the coastline will continue to look roughly the same, no matter how far down the rabbit hole you go. As mentioned previously, you'll eventually hit the molecular level if you zoom in far enough, and you'll be measuring a beach by counting atoms. If you did this forever, you'd find the coast of Britain to probably be millions of kilometers in length, which just isn't very practical or easy to understand.
The hell?
There's also the minor problem that coastlines Coastlines tend to change all the time with erosion. Every time a wave crashes on a beach, its shape is changed by a little, and that is really hard to accurately pin down. On top of this, sea levels are rising around the world, which can drastically alter the way a coastline looks. In extreme cases, like what might happen to the Maldives in a few decades, entire land masses may become completely swallowed. On the other hand, there's the Dutch, who have been adding land to their coastline now for over 700 years. The point is, Earth is constantly evolving, so good luck going out to a coast with a microscope and measuring the length that way. Every number you see online or in a book for how long a coastline is basically just a guess or an estimation. The true value is impossible to know, and that is the coastline paradox. Just take a look at this list from the CIA World Factbook on the countries with the longest coastlines for a few surprises. According to them, Canada is first, which kind of makes sense, but the really surprising one is Norway in second place. At a first glance, Norway's coast doesn't seem too long, especially when compared with countries like Russia or the United States. But when you zoom in closer, Norway's coast gets pretty wild. Just look at all these nooks and crannies and islands and fjords. The CIA puts the total length of this coast at 58,133 kilometers, which, if you stretch that out all in a vertical line, would circle the entire Earth at the equator almost 1.5 times. If you want to kill your entire weekend and see the coastline paradox in action, try measuring the Norwegian coast from the south all the way around to the border with Russia, and put a comment down comparing your answer with everything.
What? But how?
If you want to do this or any other coastal measurement, you'll need
This is some weird crap. It doesn't look like it orbits the Earth in 1.5 times. That is weird as hell. That screws with my brain. I'm pretty smart for a person my age, but that screws with me, and I hate it.
Simply for 20% off by being one of the first 200 to sign up at brilliant.org/reallifelore. Have you ever just sat on a beach and looked out across the ocean and just thought to yourself, man, if I went in a straight line from where I am now, how far would I go until I hit more land? Or from where you are right now as you're watching this video, how far can you travel in a straight line on land before you run out of land? Maybe I'm just weird, but I've been thinking lately about what's the furthest straight line you can move across the Earth's surface in both of these categories. It's a little confusing to really wrap your head around this one because we're often used to imagining the Earth in a two-dimensional space like a map. So most of the time thinking about this, you'll come up with pretty boring answers like maybe Australia to South America. But when we transform our thinking into a globe, the answers get a lot more interesting and a lot more crazy. But before all the hate comments come pouring in though, it's true that no distance between 2 points across the Earth's surface is truly flat. This may seem true enough on a map, but on a globe with a more correct shape, a line from point A to point B more resembles an arc in empty space if you delete the globe. In geometry, these arcs form part of what's called a great circle. Basically, an imaginary circle drawn around an entire sphere. The longest straight line across the ocean without touching any land, therefore, has to lie across the arc on one of these great circles around Earth. First, I need to share with you some equally interesting lines and coastlines that you probably would never imagine by simply looking at a map. And first among those is the straight line across water connecting Italy with Venezuela. Yes, that's right. On a map, this looks dumb, but here's how it actually works out in reality. You only have about a 6-mile stretch of shoreline around the town of Palmi in Italy to work with here, but if you stay within the borders of the line, you'll eventually make it all the way to Venezuela. You're gonna just squeeze through the northern part of the Strait of Gibraltar and then just barely miss the island of Madeira before finally landing over on the
You know that exists, right, official? The Strait of Gibraltar?
Venezuela is named after Venice and has so
What?
many Italians. You can also start in Norway and sail in a straight line up and eventually arrive in Antarctica
Oh.
over on the other side.
Have you ever heard of that, official? The Strait of Gibraltar?
Seems weird, but again, here's how it actually plays out. You have to
Actually, it's a very, very important geological feature of Earth. It's the very thing that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Mediterranean. If it didn't exist, then in the Mediterranean, whoever was shipping there could not get their ships past. Well, unless you use the Suez Canal into the Indian Sea.
A long way later across the Pacific, you'll barely skirt past some
it in place of the old one. This process continued until, bam! The computer came back with the proven longest straight line between 2 points of land on the Earth's surface. And it's a weird one. If you start in southern Pakistan and head south, you can eventually hit Russia without ever touching another piece of land, which looks super weird and super clickbaity on a map, but here's how it actually checks out. You begin in Sonmiani in Balochistan, Pakistan, and head across this line. You'll pass nearby Somalia, so...
Oh, I see how this is gonna work.
Along the way. Once past that, you'll cross between Africa and Madagascar and pass through the doldrums for the first time. If you brought a sailboat with you, you could get screwed pretty hard here because the wind can sometimes stop for weeks on end. But hopefully you brought a motor that didn't get stolen by the pirates and you've gotten yourself through. So now you cross the Atlantic before sliding in through the Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica, which is quite possibly the most dangerous body of water in the world. Wind speeds can get up to 80 miles per hour here, which helps to generate huge waves, extremely strong currents, and with the added complexity of poor visibility year-round, you may wish that you had just gotten kidnapped by the pirates back near Somalia. The survival odds may be higher depending on how crappy your boat is. Anyway, if you get through that, you only have to sail across literally the entire Pacific Ocean, and through the most empty part of the planet. You'll be pretty nearby to Point Nemo here, which is literally the furthest point away in the ocean from any land. If you run into trouble out here, the closest other humans to you will often be the astronauts occasionally orbiting above you aboard the International Space Station. You'll be several days to weeks away from any actual help that could come to you from an inhabited part of the world, and that's even if you have the ability to signal for help, so like, try not to do anything dumb or you'll be wishing for the pirates once again. You also have to pass back through the doldrums over on this side of the world here, so sailboats run an extra hazard of getting trapped again. But when you finally get to the other side of the line, you'll hit land in the Karaginsky district of the Kamchatka Krai in Russia, after sailing across roughly 80% of the entire Earth's circumference, and more importantly, achieving something that nobody before in history has ever done. Plenty of people have circumnavigated the globe before, but that's boring compared to this. So get out there and do your research and planning and do something great like this. Of course, planning and research for anything takes both practice and effort. If you're going to go on an adventure sailing in a straight line across the ocean, or if you want to study a globe to find your own weird lines to impress people at the bar with, you need to understand how the planet works. As in, it is the actual
Thank
shape
God, that's good.
Unprotected machines like this one are ripe for random phishing attacks, just like the fake email I'm about to send young Russell. All it takes is just one click. Before you know it, I've worked myself right into the corporate family network. If Mom's company had given her the HP Elite Dragonfly with Wolf security, my attack would be dead on arrival. Looks like I'll be staying for dinner.
World seems like it's becoming a smaller and smaller place all the time. Travel times between the Earth's continents have never been shorter than they are today. But one thing you still can't do is drive around the entire world. Sure, you can always just fly, but wouldn't it be great if instead you could go on a road trip between Europe and North America, or North America to Asia? Is it actually possible to
Just
build
take a military deploy boat.
continents? And if it is, then should we actually do it? To begin exploring the answers to these two questions, here's Sam from the brand new channel Half as Interesting to discuss the current problems that would face a global highway system.
So, how connected is the current road system? So there are basically four distinct major road systems on Earth, the biggest one being this one, the Eurafrasian one, the one spanning Europe, Asia, and Africa. These three continents are all connected by land, so it makes sense that they're all connected by road. Right? Wrong. Because I lied. It's impossible to cross from Africa to Asia fully on land because of this.
The Suez Canal.
This is the canal that makes the trip from Europe to Asia by boat, this instead of this. The only physical connection between the two continents is therefore the three bridges spanning the canal. But the road system is still contiguous, so it still counts as one big road system. Speaking of big things, the sixth largest country in the world and the first smallest continent, Australia, has its own major road system, but there's not much more to say about it other than if you go along this way, you get to America. Both of them. Much like Africa and Asia, the Americas technically are not connected because of a man-made
The Panama Canal.
That's not a problem because there are multiple bridges spanning the narrow waterway. The problem is this, the Darien Gap.
Home to many cartels.
This desolate swampland spanning over the Panama-Colombia border.
You don't cross that without getting shot at, don't you?
With paramilitary forces and drug lords. There's just not enough demand to make braving the marshy and dangerous area to build a road worth it. So that's why North America and South America have two completely separate, unconnected road systems.
So to recap, these four areas all have pre-existing road networks, but none of them connect with one another. So how can we fix that and live in a world where you can drive from New York to London and back again? Let's imagine that this global highway would originate in Cape Town, South Africa, and end in Punta Arenas in Chile, the southernmost city in the world with a population over 100,000 people. The current highway system from Cape Town to Kinshasa is fine and would take you 51 hours to complete the whole drive. But once in Kinshasa, our first problem arises. There is currently no bridge over the Congo River between Kinshasa and Brazzaville, so the only current way across is by a ferry. In order for our global highway to work, we need to build a bridge across, which would cost around $444 million. Assuming that it's built, the drive from Brazzaville to Adalia in Morocco can continue just fine with existing highways. The total driving time across all of Africa so far stands at 7 days and 6 hours. But here we encounter one of the largest problems to our global
The Strait of Gibraltar.
Mediterranean Sea. Luckily, at this point, though, the sea separates Morocco from Spain by only 14 kilometers. But it's not the length that's the problem, it's the depth of the water, which is up to 900 meters deep at some parts. It would be a gigantic engineering challenge to construct, and the estimated cost is somewhere around $24 billion. But let's assume that it's built and you're now across from Africa in the town of Algeciras in Spain. You can now drive all the way from this town to the other side of Eurasia in Magadan, Russia on currently existing highways. And that drive alone would take 7 days and 11 hours. When combined with your trip from Cape Town, the total drive from there to Magadan would take 14 days and 17 hours to complete. In order to connect more people on the global highway, UK citizens could transport their vehicles through the channel and begin their journey on French highways on the way to Magadan. If you live in Australia, New Zealand, or Indonesia, then I'm sorry, but it's probably not possible to build a bridge connecting you guys to the system with our current technology. The distances that Australia and New Zealand are from everything else means that any bridge built would have to be at least 165 kilometers over open ocean, which is not very feasible. So basically, if the rest of the system is built, if you're living just about anywhere in Eurasia, you would be able to drive to Magadan. But getting from there to North America is perhaps the greatest challenge that the system faces. This is a map of the Russian highway system, and as you notice, this entire area here is full of nothing. Over 2,000 kilometers of brand new highways would have to be built through this vast and freezing land to connect to the small village of Ulla near the Bering Strait. From here, mainland Alaska is only 82 kilometers away, but a bridge doesn't have to be built that long alone because of these. The Diomede Islands, luckily in the center between Alaska and Russia. Because of them, you only need to build 3 separate smaller bridges instead of one long one. And the water depth is actually quite shallow at only 55 meters deep. But still, due to the freezing temperatures here, the challenge of building it would be enormous. And the bridge would likely cost an insane $105 billion to complete. And then there's the problem that the closest town in Alaska is 160 kilometers away from where the bridge would be constructed at. So another highway would have to be built out to there. But this town is even further separated from the rest of the road system in Alaska, which means that even more highways would have to be built entirely from scratch to connect all the way to Fairbanks. From here, finally, you can take existing roadways all the way down on a 129-hour drive to Yaviza, Panama. The existing road system ends here at the aforementioned Darien Gap. So if the area could become a little more safe and a highway was built across it in the future, you could drive even further all the way down to Punta Arenas in Chile, the southernmost major to see some major construction projects to build the global highway system. The longest route would be from Cape Town to Punta Arenas, and it would be over 52,000 kilometers long, take you over 28 days of driving time, and the entire system would likely cost at least $233 billion to build. That's a little over 1% of the United States' GDP, or about 38% of what the United States military spends in one full year.
Hey.
Hi.
Did you know some man locked himself in his room, vowed never to come out until he counted to 1 million? In 2007, he made the Guinness World Book of Records, and he counted to 1 million. 16 hours a day. 8 days were reserved for, or 8 hours a day were reserved for sleep and food. It took him 89
You want me to
days.
join you on Minecraft?
Oh no. But did you hear what happened to my toe?
What happened?
A few nights ago, I think Monday night, I stubbed my toe. Not like a bad one. Not like a good one. Like a bad one. Probably broke my pinky, and it hurts to walk on it. Like.
Have you gone to the doctor?
No, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing anyone can do. I don't even think our technology is advanced enough to cure such a thing. I probably have.
I love how Max always complains about me blasting loud videos. Meanwhile, he's on the futon right behind me, blasting his game at full audio.
There you go. You might as well.
That he doesn't need the audio for. Wow, somebody's really mad.
Denial, man. My gun, my dad, a few days ago. Ah. God damn it. Freaking hurts, man. And it's as red as a tomato.
Who would spend 1,500 atoms on all of the collectrons?
Dude. Alright, if you join, are you willing to help?
What are you doing?
Probably a highway system.
How will it be going?
It's actually pretty much a little bit more simple than building projects. Or when it's straight, at least. It is a big system. And when it's done, when the system is done, it's going to be responsible for carrying people across the country. Right now, I estimate that only 1/8 of it is completed. So we still got another, at least. This thing could be up to 3,000 blocks long.
Oh, hi Gus. Gus just walked into my room. Hi, buddy.
Yeah, so it hurts right now when you touch it, and it's swelling up, and it's as red as a tomato. It's bad. And last night it was this purple. It was this.
Are you gonna get a cast on it or something?
I want to get a cast, but I don't think they can do anything because, like,
I personally would try to get like a brace or whatever, or something to protect it.
Yeah,
Max said that you stubbed it on your metal bed frame.
Yeah, this is not like, okay, I stubbed it a little bit and it's gonna heal. No, this is, I just possibly broke my fucking pinky toe bad. And I think I've heard that if you stub your pinky toe, 90% of the time it's gonna break, which scares me even more.
I mean, it's really brittle and small, so not a surprise.
Because, yeah, I know what it feels like to break something. When you break something and you touch it, it hurts, and the pain will never go down. That's what's happening with my pinky. So I estimate like a 50-50.
I've never broken a bone in my 10+ years of life.
I'm just gonna say, here's how you know it hurts. It's either, like, if you go straight weak and the pain doesn't go down a little tiny bit, it's broken. Or strained. If you want to, I have an invite. Because if I'm gonna be honest, I had a broken foot and I casted it, and I know it's a long time, but in that time, like 2 months,
Oh my
it was fully
god.
healed.
2 quantums and 1 regular from 1 vending machine.
Wow. There is 1 Nuka-Cola Quantum spawn in Poseidon offices. So if you want to go find another one, there is another Nuka-Cola Quantum. However, I don't think it's as guaranteed. Just gonna know.
Oh, I just was wandering around at a red rocket station and just found it.
Feels more special to find Nuka-Cola Quantum in the 4th game than it is the 76 or the 5th game.
Rayce, you know that lady with the gray suit and blonde hair? That's a total dick. And 4. What did you say to her?
Oh, I'm like, bitch. I hate her.
Same.
If I didn't
She's
get,
such,
if I didn't
she
get,
says,
yeah.
oh, the poor like ants under our boots or something like that, and I just said, bitch. I wanted to literally right then and there pull out my combat knife, my basically pocket knife, and just slit her throat and rip out her throat.
Honestly, her. So poor, also me, has 5 fully kitted out robots from the Automatron update.
I may not have money,
bots.
but I have other currencies, bitch.
Her, another, the poor coming out for scraps, me. I'm not hard to understand. Death is my currency. Apex.
My currency, blood and guts. So, what are your mom and dad doing about that whole pinky toe situation?
We can't do anything. They're not doing anything because they don't care. They don't think we can do anything. I was almost wanting to go to the doctor because there's this one person that did my foot. Yeah, my left foot is just not having a fun time in my lifespan. First, it was broken. The growth plate was broken. It was fixed, but my pinky toe was destroyed. I just destroyed my pinky toe. And I think if it was casted, well, I want to
Rayce, how many bones do you think I've broken in my life?
I don't think so. I don't know. I want to estimate that if we're gonna like be totally honest here, I estimate that this pinky toe, my pinky toe, could be healed.
Oh my god! A new update has arrived for Minecraft. And candles, yes!
Candles.
Azaleas can now be placed in flower pots.
I've been waiting for that. I didn't know that was a feature. But dude,
can you invite me, please?
But the bad news, I estimate that it'll take all the way even up to September 30th to heal my pinky.
I love you.
It could take 2 to 3 months to heal this thing. If we're going off from like, if it's like my growth plate, it could take either anyway from 2 months, maybe even up to 6 months.
Alright, Rayce, can you just hit me with that invite?
You know, hold on, I'm gonna talk to your parents about it. I'll invite you in a second. I can kind of walk, but it's really a pain in the ass. My mobility has been strictly limited because of it.
Ooh.
Now I can only walk at a pace of like 5 miles an hour instead of running at like 10.
It's better than having
Yeah, I had a broken... Let's say, if your mom really thinks you have car keys smuggled in your butthole cartel style, like bro. Butthole cartel.
Hey, Rayce.
What?
So this level 32 had the guts to try to kill me in Fallout, and so before I killed him, I said I'm about to execute this man war crime style.
like from like what's it called, Fallout 1, where you take a pistol and then our forces have been keeping peace in Anchorage. Executes Chinese soldier on the spot. Bam. And no, it's not a hate thing. It's a freaking story-related thing. Dude, okay, here's the thing. I know it's kind of narcissistic to say this, but I'm bothered that, what's it called? I'm not saying I'm horribly disgruntled, but I'm saying I'm a little bit bothered that, like, they removed, like, the quote where Apex, like, where, Caustic's like, you rat, like, he calls Crypto a rat. Like, dude, he's not targeting Asians. It's because Crypto was fucking framed for murder. If they were targeting...
He's calling him a rat because Crypto's just kind of... He never goes out to the light. He always, like, stays away from everything.
Yeah,
that's
like,
basically what a rat is. He's not targeting Asians.
Yeah, if he was targeting Asian, then why in the hell is he not targeting Valkyrie?
Exactly.
Or maybe, somewhere to an extent, maybe Wraith?
One of my favorite things about Apex is there's a whole variety of, like, personalities. We've got people from different color. We've got people of different color. We've got different, like, ethnicities. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Gibraltar's gay, right?
Yeah, sexual orientation. Gibraltar and Valkyrie are both gay. Loba is bisexual, and what's it called? I can't remember. Bloodhound is non-binary. That is very thank God that explains it. I'm like, okay, Bloodhound is a girl in the trailer.
Oh,
but
so.
Sounds like
Oh
a dude.
my God, Rayce, you gotta look at this, dude. Oh, can you? Oh, you can't.
What?
You can't place.
What's wrong?
See, look. You can place candles together in like little bunches.
Yeah, I know. Oh. Did I ever tell you that, give me a second.
Oh no. What's
Look
gonna
at that.
happen?
Look.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna start laying out this pipe if you wanna come out. Help me.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go. I'm sorry, but
wait, what?
I'm gonna go leave pipe with my dad because No, it's not like a actual term. Yeah, I will be back. I don't know, probably 15-30 minutes at most. Hopefully. Oh, yeah, I just did.